Hey guys, SmaK here. We're going to go over some basic controls and parachuting tips in Battlegrounds. These will just be basic tips for players that are new to the game. Understanding these basic controls, parachuting, and how best to use these things is a first step towards becoming a better player in Battlegrounds. Alright, we're going to start off our basic controls by covering jumping, which can be found on spacebar by default. Now, jumping can be very useful when trying to get visual info around you, especially in first person. You want to avoid jumping around other players though, because jumping players can be easier to hit, especially when falling from a greater height. When trying to avoid firefights and avoid being shot, you want to try to stick to serpentine movements and only jump if you're going to land in cover. Next is free look, which is found on alt by default. Very important to use free look as often as possible. There are a lot of advantages to it. One, while holding a position, being able to look around you without actually moving your player model is a great way to stay in cover and not be spotted. But most importantly, whether parachuting or running, you're able to continue on your path while watching around you. Leaning is not only a great way to gain info on areas around corners, but it's great to use in firefights to give your enemies the smallest target possible. The default keys are Q and E, and using it often can gain you a serious advantage in firefights. Swimming can be made significantly easier by using the default keys space and C to ascend and descend in the water. Much easier than looking up and looking down to do so, and it may save your life when encountered with enemy gunfire. All right, let's talk about proning. Proning in bad positions is one of the #1 mistakes I see newer players make. It can be deceiving, especially in first person, tall grass around you. It can appear that you have cover, but whenever you analyze things a bit further, you can see very clearly the line where grass doesn't render in the distance. Players past this point can see you just as easily as you can see them. You stick out very, very badly, and you're basically a free kill if you're prone in these positions. Very important to not prone in positions where enemies may see you. Try to stay in cover or down in behind hills, rocks, anything that you can use to stay hidden if you really need to prone. Obviously, this can all change late game. If the circle's small enough where players won't be outside of this render distance, proning in tall grass can be very, very strong and can help get you further in the game. But it is very important to always keep in mind the render distance of the grass. All right, let's cover parachuting. Whenever you first jump out of the plane, a few important pieces of information pop up in the bottom left-hand corner of your screen. You'll be shown your speed at which you're traveling towards the ground. This is very important whenever you're trying to hit the ground as quickly as possible. The white bar indicates when your parachute will auto-deploy. This can change depending on the elevation of the land underneath you, which leads us to the black bar that may sometimes appear underneath the white bar. The black bar indicates the elevation of the ground. This can change the point at which your parachute will auto-deploy. Let's say you want to hit the ground as fast as possible. How do you make that happen? Well, there's a few things you need to watch out for. First of all, if you're targeting a place where other players are most likely going to go, remember that those players are going to probably drop whenever they feel they are the closest to that location that they're going to be. You can actually drop a few seconds before that and still beat those players to that location. So that's very, very important to remember as you're starting your jump. Now, let's say you started your jump and you want to hit the ground as fast as possible. Once you've done this, you want to angle straight down towards the ground as much as you possibly can. You're going to reach a speed of 234 kilometers an hour. You can see that on the left here as I get closer to the ground. This is the maximum speed that you can fall at. Once you hit the point in which your parachute auto deploys, you can see that you actually continue to fall just a little bit further. Unless you're very close to that speed, that extra little bit of fall distance will not happen. And that little bit of extra fall distance will be the edge you need to beat other players to the ground and sometimes come out on top. All right, and last, let's say you want to travel as far as possible from the plane. How do you make it happen? Well, there are a few things you need to watch for. One of those being your map. As you can see, Each yellow grid is 1,000 meters across. Now with this jump, you can actually make it about 3,000 meters. So first, to start it off, once you've made your jump, angle the way you're wanting to go and look toward the horizon, trying to stay at 126 kilometers an hour. As soon as you can open your parachute, you want to do so. Now you're wanting to tap W toward the direction you're wanting to go. To get the longest distance out of your jump, you want to try to stay in between 20 and 30 kilometers an hour. Now this will take a very, very long time, but this is how you get the longest jump possible out of the plane. We've covered a few tips on the basic controls and how to get the most out of your parachuting. Make sure you guys check out PUBG.net for more info, and thanks for watching. Later.